why do we need an adaptable mindset? Well, what is happening around me with friends, family, loved ones, and in society that a lot of people, after 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years of studying, they had little skills to show for in the job market or for entrepreneurship. That made me very sad, and I wanted to do something about this. And at the same time, I see within large corporates, I saw that people often want to innovate, but still they have to deal with fixed mindsets. And I think we can sort of get them away from this by giving them the right type of inspiration and the right type of methodologies to get them loose out of this fixed mindset. So, as we said already, I have some experience. I'm actually invited by MIT, European Commission, etc. to talk about the balance between people and technology. So I find that important, I want to investigate that. And as a creative director at Triple, I have experience in working with the likes of Vodafone and Heineken, and we develop digital platforms, digital strategies. And as an artist, I exhibited at Centre Pompidou in the Media Biennial in Seoul. So I'm all over the place, and I've got this anti-fragile, this flexible mindset. And this is totally not about me, but it's about trying to transfer this knowledge to other people as well. So that's why I started this. And we developed a free online program, free online course to do this with the Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences. So you can do this later on, after this session maybe. And for me it's actually quite simple. So I made this into a methodology. This methodology is quite simple. It has to deal with non-dogmatic principles, because of course we're in an adaptable mindset. And it starts by being open to mind-opening input, like great inspiration. We need to give this to the people. And then we need to ask people to embrace this. So that you're not standing there on the sideline as a negative Nancy and saying, well, I don't think that blockchain will do anything, or AI will not influence my job. No, you're going to be the person who's going to embrace it and play with it. You need to experiment with everything new that comes your way. Because through play, you can find the limitations and you can find the possibilities. Otherwise, you might have misconceptions of what it can and what it can't do. And through play is fun. So we can experiment and we can transcend into a higher order, into a different realm. And only in last stage we become critical. Because we have so many biases that if you start with being critical in the beginning, that can be very detrimental to innovation. And I think we can teach people this. And that's why I focused my last 2 years on developing this program. Now, so we've got that out of the way. It starts by being open to mind-opening inspiration. Like, it stretches your brain, like really crazy stuff, from art, games, movies, philosophy, research, science, even comics and cartoons. It's like whatever you need to change your mind, to expand your mind. So in this example, it's a movie by Marshmallow Laserfeast called In the Eyes of the Enemy. Now what did they do? They took 2 LiDAR scanners to a forest and they scanned the entire forest. And that gave them a point cloud. And you can move through the point cloud in virtual reality or in a movie. But what I like here is that they found out this new aesthetic. It's like something I have not seen before. And I want people to be more open to the new and the crazy stuff, because innovation also always starts as crazy and different. And if you are more exposed to these sort of things, I think you can nurture that you're also going to be open to the new and different stuff in other fields. And I think we need to look at the outliers in many regions. So this is esports, for example. This is a Dota 2 tournament, professional tournament of esports in 2016. What you see here at the top, you see the professional players, and in the front, you see a mixed reality preview of the characters they are going to play with. It's quite intense that they can already do this during a live broadcast, and now you just see this on the Dutch national TV. But this is already a few years earlier. So we can learn and we can live a bit in the future by opening ourselves up to the outliers. And I want to take it one step deeper, one step more into the crazy realm. So when there's an esports tournament, you can also buy a book. This book, the so-called compendium. It costs $10, and for this $10, if we all buy it, we can make bets on who's going to win the next pro match. That's pretty cool. But we can also get a heads-up display, a new interface for our own game. We can also get a music pack. So we've got a benefit. We can make bets with each other, and 10% of the prize pool, 10% of the amount of the book cost gets added to the prize pool. The prize pool went from 2 million to 25 million within the same year. So these guys are inventing new business models and new ways of engagement, like constantly. So I think we can learn from this. And who here has seen the Fortnite World Cup? Show of hands. Okay, it's like 5 or 6 of you. This is what you can expect.
Spraying from the high ground. It's a 2 versus 1. The player right on the edge of the zone. The shot frame into the air. And he's going to drop on down the height for the moment. The spray coming on in. It's not enough.
So besides liking very much the socially awkward high five, and the entire thing of esports, what is happening there, what I find even more interesting is that, so this is being played by over 125 million people, like worldwide. But during the tournament, this happens. I'd like to pay attention to this.
Competitive Fortnite isn't going anywhere. Once Season 9 wraps up and we move into our next season, we'll be debuting the Fortnite Championship Series. This will give players a chance to compete against the best of the best, where every single result matters. The leaderboard to track results over the course of the season.
Okay, can you imagine that during a UEFA Championship League, Blatter or someone else walks up on the field and says, okay, so this tournament is still happening, but we're also going to start this new tournament. Different field, different rules. It's unimaginable. But with esports, with gaming, that is constantly happening because these guys are digital natives. Like, change is the only constant that they know. So I think it's very good to surround yourself with these kind of people and with these kind of inspiration. And also, I think we should go, well, you don't have to, but it's also nice for you and for your own experience. Go back to art maybe. So the previous talk was a lot about technology, but let's go back to feeling more and trying to be more receptive of our surroundings. And we can train that by looking at art and like the emotion that seeps through the paint and even through the screen here. I think that's very wonderful. And what this does to me is that it gives me difficult to rationalize thoughts. So it's difficult for me to portray what I feel, but the same thing happens with new technology. It's difficult to put into words what it could mean for you or what it could mean for your business. So you can train yourself by exposing yourself to these sort of things. And who here knows the Rietveld chair? Show of hands. Awesome. So it's like 90%. Of course, this is a design icon, design classic. Everyone knows this. Now look at Maarten Baas.
Ik wil niet vernietigen. Verbranden is voor mij niet iets negatiefs. Stilstand wel. Als dingen blijven zoals ze zijn, ga je niet vooruit. Perfectie wordt vaak geassocieerd met symmetrische, strakke, harmonische vormen. Er zijn zoveel voorbeelden van schoonheid te vinden die het tegenovergestelde zijn.
So, the fire gets extinguished, epoxy layers being put over the chair. It's been shed of its colors, but you can use it again. And I think this is very interesting because he says, if things stay as they are, you are not moving forward. I think what we do in the management models that we teach, the new business models, is that people often copy that and they start doing the same. I saw the same at Art Academy, that you show them Warhol, you show them the Rietveld chair, and you get copies of that. But by sometimes attacking, sort of destroying the old system while leaving the framework intact, we can move forward more. So this is a nice message from that segment, I think.
There are a lot of contradictions in what I make in a sense, and I still am just trying to make sense of the world. You can walk on the path, or you can walk through the hedge. Two different ways of looking at the world. And I think that's the beauty of art, that it just makes you step aside off the normal way of walking or looking.
So yeah, I love Andy for this. So that he says you can step off the path, and I think through artist's eyes, you can look through their eyes and you can experience their path and experiment in that way. And that, I think, is again a very relevant skill to have in your own life. This is another piece by him. So imagine that it's stormy weather. This guy is like shifting all of the leaves and making this shape. That's his passion. I just love that. And this guy, Alan Gutayat, maybe you know him, maybe not. So he is very much interested in working together in a digital sense, like drawing together. And he makes all of these experiments. And in the beginning I mentioned that the element of play is very important, because through play you can create freedom, you can experiment, and you can find out things that work and what don't work. So in this case, we've got a 3D model of himself and of his colleague, and he has kids and other people, grown-ups as well, draw within a certain framework, and that gets then projected on top of this model. And you could be thinking, okay, nice. Leuk voor jou. Maybe you have opinions on this. Actually, these opinions are still not so relevant. What you see here is a second experiment of him. You see here a drawing of one artist, you see a drawing of a different artist here, and in the middle they are combined. And he is interested in creating like jazz, how you create music, like this interplay, you don't know what is going to happen yet. And here you see two artists working together through his experiments. So they're just playing around, and he facilitates this playing around. And you can do it with physical shapes, you can do it with everything. Now, he's currently Senior UX and Motion Designer at Google on the Jamboard. Now, what is a Jamboard? The Jamboard is a tool. If we have two, one here and one in the USA, we can work together on the same project or on the same drawing. So why did I hire this guy? Because through play, he went through all the motions, all the pitfalls, all the delighters. He went through the exact user experience by playing around. And I think as corporates, as companies, as people, I think we should find more room to just mess around, to just experiment, and not be so goal-oriented. Of course, it's very difficult to do within a large corporate, but we could try and make a stand for this. And I'm not the only one saying this. Johan Huizinga, quite fondly, a Dutch philosopher, says, through play we can step out of a common reality into a higher order. If you manage to get into this higher order, you can create your own reality, with your own rules. A place where you're free of boundaries, where you can envision a new and better world. And isn't that something that we all want? Like through play, experiment, and it feels also so easy, you can just flow through it. And I also spoke about that we need to embrace stuff, and this is a fine example. So, of course, we all know Airbnb. They've been through the motions, so they already know what kind of assets and building blocks they have. That's been designed. Maybe a few iterations are needed. And if you're a designer, then you would know that this is an image, and this is a title, and this is a body text. Now, we created a tool, and at the top you can see a camera feed, and this camera feed has image recognition. And through this image recognition, it can recognize what kind of shapes are being put in front of the camera, and it can automatically generate a design. Now, if I would be a designer, and I originate from design, I could be scared shitless and think, oh no, there goes my job. That is one mindset. You could also think, well, I could also run design sprints and have everyone be a designer. Or I could leave the mundane tasks, the designs that I don't want to make, to this tool, and I make the more experimental stuff. That's also a mindset. So it's my goal, and I take this comic panel as a metaphor, to try to get rid of the frames. Normally, comic panels have frames, it's all boxed in, but let's try to get rid of the frames and be more fluid, be more liquid, and just take all of the inspiration and then find what sticks with you, and then voice your own opinion. But then, of course, we also need methodologies and ways to apply these things. So, methodology for complex problem solving. Now, there's one theory by John W. Gardner who says, toy with an idea, look at it from a dozen different angles, argue to yourself that it's true, and then argue that it is untrue. This already is quite difficult for a lot of people, like having this sense of ambiguity. And I think the sentence strong opinions, loosely held, fit very well with this as well. But I think we can train this. And just as a thought experiment, we could say, well, we now see that high quality content, like on Netflix and New York Times, will be behind the paywall. Oh no, that's going to change the entire business model. Well, maybe, but we also see now that podcasts are exploding and they get more views than sometimes in the New York Times. So look at arguments from a dozen different angles. I think that's a very good exercise to just always do. And in that sense, critical thinking is also very important. Like, who has skin in the game? Who actually knows this shit? Who has been through the motion? Who has built the companies? Talk to these people instead of just people echoing other people. And actually, critical thinking is the number 2 skill, according to the World Economic Forum, to focus on, for skills to withstand disruption and rapid automation. Of course, complex problem solving and creativity we also deal with in the online program. So this is quite fascinating to me. So I think technical skills you can just learn. You can learn it online in 3 months, in a few years. You can absorb it, or you can just get it from the cloud, machine learning packages or whatever. You can just plug that in. But the skills to actually apply it and critically think about the how, I think we need to work on that a little bit more. And this is a famous investigation by the Groene Amsterdammer, which you might know. The economics education is in crisis. They did a small survey amongst banks, think tanks, etc. And they found that what is lacking in this type of education, critical thinking, self-thinking, and not memorizing, truth-talking, self-criticism, and independent thinking. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is all messed up. So that's one of the reasons why I started the Adaptable Mindset, to help people evolve and, well, be better in critical thinking, find their own inspiration, and stuff like that. And if you take it one level deeper into what is critical thinking, it's the objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment. And I think it starts with curiosity. Like you should be naturally curious of, why does it work in this way? Why does the default exist in this way? Or who gathered the data? Who has a bias? These things are very, very important. And now I want to take it one level weirder and one level more into a meta level. So I think critical thinking is more of an add-on, which you can use for many different methodologies. But I think if we zoom out, I think there are like 2 routes for problem solving. And one is the indirect and one is the direct route. What I see happening now that we are becoming increasingly better in this. This is your funnel improvement. This is KPI driven. This is based on analytics. This is like boxed off innovation, but this often gives incremental innovation. But at the same time, we've got indirect problem solving. And I think through indirect problem solving, we can use more of our subconscious brain. And I think in our brain, there's so much knowledge stored that it's difficult to comprehend. And if you create more freedom, if you first fill it with all of the inspiration, and then create more room and freedom to actually use this instead of always being task-specific and directed, I think that could help. And there's actually a scientific neural basis for the difference in directed versus undirected thought. When subjects are engaged in indirect free-floating thoughts, also called mental wandering, a particular part of the brain called the association cortex is highly active. So the association cortex works better in that way. Other parts of the brain associated with more directed and task-specific activities are relatively quiet, and vice versa. So, different parts of your brain work with different methodologies. It's good to know. And of course, philosophy and art, they already knew this for ages. That we need boredom, that we need off time, that we need quiet time. And I think this is very difficult for us to find now because we all know we have the device in our hand, in a pocket, all of the time, with all of the knowledge in the world. But it also makes sure that we're never bored again. So I see it happening a lot in restaurants, and sometimes I do it as well. So you're there with your partner, and he or she goes to the toilet or has to leave. That you're like, okay, let's see what is now happening on. It's like it's not really relevant. You could have used the time to just let your mind wander, get bored a bit, and find that time. But I know that it's difficult. You know, our world is always on. Everything is in push. You get hundreds of emails. Many people have like 5 or 6 meetings a day. So when is your time that you can reflect a bit? Where's your time that you can let your subconscious brain work? So I'm very much looking for that. And then I see maybe as like if you look at life as a large organism, maybe of society, it's a countermeasure for all of the busyness that we have. That we flock towards meditation, that we flock towards yoga, to sort of cope with all of the busyness. That we find it that difficult that we go there. So I think we should also find our calm. And actually, science says that we could do that through meditation. Even after 4 days of meditation, that improves. You got significant improvements in attention, memory, vigilance, creativity, and cognitive flexibility. So that's quite an upgrade, right? You just need to do it for a few days, 20 minutes a day. That's a bit rough because often you first need to get into it. And research also suggests our automated decision making is guided by our default mode network. And it says that these results suggest an autopilot role for this network. So for some decisions in our life, you can imagine in your work environment that people work in a default mode. They just respond like how they always respond because it's also an energy efficient way of the brain to communicate in that way. And through meditation, you can take a step back from that. You can take an objective step back from yourself into your own thinking and see what your own thoughts are. And I think that is a relevant skill to have. And of course, you don't have to do it with meditation. You know, you can do it with whatever you want. Like music, for example. Use music to clear your mind, to let your mind wander. Or other people find their sanity again through electronic dance music. Well, I know it's hedonism. A part of it is hedonism, but other part of it is like expanding the mind, getting rid of your thoughts. And electronic dance music, it has not been as big as it is now. And other people practice extreme sports. You know, they go skydiving, they do people do the weirdest stuff just to get out of your head. I think this is a counter mechanism for our busy culture. And of course, this is not for everyone. But I think even us normal people, we do more and more crazy stuff. Why do we do CrossFit? Why do we flip like large tires? It's quite extreme. Why do we run half marathons or marathons? Why do we take ice baths, cold showers? It's becoming more and more the rage. We want to take care of our body, and we need this clean and clear mind. And one of the most natural and easy things to do is just walk. Because through walking, you get into your natural rhythm, like the breathing slows down. And if you go into a forest, then it's also good for your blood pressure. And we know this all, but we still find it difficult to integrate it in our lives. So to me, I look at it in a holistic way. I think we should try to expand the mind. And I just showed you a glimpse, some brief examples of how you could do this. And there's like many, many, many more. And of course, you should find your own. You should find your own examples, but online you can find even more examples that can give you inspiration. And take the examples that are close to your heart, that you find relevant, and just let the other ones fall off and see what you can take home from them. And then in the second stage, I think we also need methodologies. Methodologies for complex problem solving, methodologies for to use your subconscious brain, critical thinking, and the likes. And you should be able to switch between all of these methodologies. And then, at the end, create more of a calm and free mind. So it's my goal to make people happier, more resilient, more creative, and connected. Because through awareness, through openness, we can be more connected, we can be more receptive, we can work better together. It's all very beneficial. And the funny thing is, or actually not a funny thing, it's actually quite depressing, that if you don't work on this and people have a low level of well-being, they are 4 times more likely to have poor job performance, and they are 75 times more likely to have presenteeism. And what is presenteeism? Well, it's that you're there in the meeting, in the boardroom, but you're physically there, but mentally you're somewhere else. And this to me is quite depressing and quite sad. So that's why I focus on the positive. I want to build on this and I want to help people so we can prevent that. And I think you've now seen 10% of the program, of a few of the elements. And there are many more, like thinking models, ways to build your own vision, ways to get your own inspiration, working interconnectedness, shutting down a default mode network, from floating to doing other weird and different stuff. And whatever fits with your profile, we can find something. And hopefully that will be relevant for you. You can find the course online if you go to adaptablemindset.com. It's 3.5 hours of online video content, 12 exercises, 3 daily habits, because you need to create like this habit-forming behavior. So if you want more resilience, happiness, innovation, you can go there. It's free because we find it so relevant to bring. And hopefully we can bring some change. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving away a free course.
Yeah,
That's always
just
nice.
a fragment.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
a fragment, of course. A
Yeah,
free
and
meal.
then the free course is now online. Yeah, we launched today.
Super cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you give an example of something that you accomplished at Triple that is done nowhere else, like a quiet place or a yoga room?
Yeah, we keep on doing that, but we also keep on growing. So we had this meditation space for a while where we are like typical like a tech company through our like DNA and blood.
Oh, yeah.
So then I was like, I think we need a meditation space. So that was a bit weird, of course, for these guys, but we eventually got it.
Right.
But now we grew so big that other people are now working in that. So it's always this difficult balance in trying to find that.
People are working in the meditation
Yeah,
space.
they're now working in there.
Okay.
But I think one of the more humane things that we do is actually listen to people. Because what you sometimes see happening is someone is not performing well. And
Right.
then you can become angry, like, why are you not doing your thing? But most of the time, what we notice is that it has to do with people with their personal life. If something
Right.
is not working there, someone is sick, or there's something wrong with a kid or something. And if you try to solve that problem, that makes them more happy, it makes us more happy, and we as a company and as a society flourish from that as well.
That's so interesting because on your business card it says creative director, but you talk like someone who works in HR.
I think you need to have a positive community and vibe for you to be creative.
Yeah.
You need to have this balance, and you need to. And I don't direct anything. I just facilitate. So I make sure that the earth is good, that people can flourish, and give the right ingredients, and eventually that they can do it on their own.
Nice. I think you've inspired a lot of people. Give them a
Hope
big
so.
round of applause. Robert Overweg. Thank you.